Okay. Well, that Uhatuk means peace and blessings, means greetings and peace and black power. Welcome to another episode of Nine Mind Radio, hosted by yours truly, Ali York, Wet Salt, Huti Atson Ray, a.k.a. Son of Dr. York. Got a lot to talk about tonight. A lot to talk about. This is deep. Just want to also, before I even begin, as I was talking with the brother Morris just now, brother Ramos, that this past Sunday was a success for the Khoisan lecture. It was a great blessing to be able to do that lecture. Because it's funny because I've set up several lectures, put them together, the PowerPoint presentations and everything from Luciferian conspiracy about the Rockefellers and Rothschilds and all that stuff, and the Boule in that, and then just separate Boule lecture, and it's other stuff I've done, which is geared around, Black African extermination. And when I did the Khoisan lecture and I was doing the research for it, it ends up being about the same thing, basically, because their numbers have dwindled down to like 100,000. And it's funny, but that number was in 2006. So that's a decade ago, and it's probably a lot lower than that because here and there, because they're sitting on Dutch colonized land, and the Dutch is still trying to control them. As I stated even in the lecture, they put the Khoisan on like a separate gated area away from their crops, and it's crazy. It's like if you look at, it's a certain documentary that breaks this down, that they have a certain herb, it's called Hudia, and the Dutch make millions of dollars off of something that is on the Khoisan's land. They take that Hudia and they go and they sell it on the herb, and then pharmaceutical places and herb shops make millions of dollars because they stretch it out and they turn it into capsule form and everything, and it's crazy. It's just something. It's like something growing in your house. White people walk in and take it out, and then they just turn it into something totally different, which is stuff that white people have been doing to Africans for thousands of years. So it's nothing new. It's just the Khoisan is a very obscure and underrated group of Africans in South Africa that at one point occupied basically south to what they call the sub-Saharan, which is, when they say Sahara, they're talking about basically saying sub-Egypt. But there is no such thing as sub-Saharan because that's a European term. And their language, which is broken up into many different dialects, which is, they're widely known from the clicking sound, has spread throughout Africa, and a lot of languages from the Zulu, languages in Namibia, and parts of East Africa, of course, in the South Africa as well, they also have adopted that language. So that's very important to know that they influence a lot of people to this day as being based on European archaeologists as the oldest people on the planet, the Khoisan, the oldest people. But then it's like we have to understand something too, is that the European thinks in a very monolithic thought process. So when they find things, a lot of times they try to make this as the own or as the only or the best. In reality, that's false. They do that purposely to try to minimize the impact of Africans, not knowing these were Africans that may have been in the south of Africa, and they were also known as the first people to inhabit Europe. But then you have to realize what was going on up north, because we really don't know how old, Kush, how old Kemet was, how old Uganda is, because there's Ugandan civilizations that we don't talk about. We don't talk about. You have the sister Drusilla Houston that has a whole book about Kush that we don't even go into. And that's something I was talking about earlier with Ramos, is that there's too many of our people that are stuck romanticizing about one country in Africa, Egypt. And there's like multitudes of the biggest continent in the world, but you're only stuck on one situation, on one country. And you mean to tell me that there's so many of our people that's lecturing? Just notice that. It's like what makes you valid is talking about Kemet. If you ain't talking about Kemet, no one listens to you. And that's really funny, because it's like, I know how I picture it is like lecturers, just like one big long highway. It's like in different lanes, but everybody's in one big lane talking about the same exact thing. Now, you might get different perspectives and everything, but me, I'm a different type of person. If I study certain things for context. So if I want to know something about, Egypt or whatever, and I want to go from first dynasty to, old kingdom, middle kingdom, from the first to the 18th to 25th, and the new kingdom coming in with the Hyksos basically taking over into the Ptolemy era, I'm going to get a book that's going to cover all of that. And then I might go into cross-reference mode, first source, secondary source, and third source. Whereas some people, it's like they get into so many different perspectives. Now, if you want to do that, it's fine, and you condense it for yourself, as opposed to having to go this person, that person, this person, and you're just like basically confusing yourself, because a lot of people have different teachers, and sometimes different teachers are going to basically either overlap or they're going to confuse you, because some people that are coming from different spiritual systems of Kemet, it's like you're going to be banging on each other. One person is going to say, this group, in Kim, it's like the language is going to be saying this, and this language, the one master might say that the Metanetsu was never translated. One might say it did, and one might say it's not even important. So it just depends on yourself and how you study. Thing is, with our people, is we have to be taught how to study. We're not taught how to study. We just barely know how to read. And once we learn how to really study, we will truly be the gods on the planet, because then we will know what to study. And that's the problem, is that we're stuck studying the same thing, back and forth. We're both, all of us, again, are in the same boat, and we have to create different avenues for each other so we can cover all of world history and not just what sounds good to us for the time. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about tonight. Wow. For him going to Wayne, that's very interesting. The Lil Wayne situation. Scottie Pippen is getting a divorce from his white wife, and she wants money. That's funny, man, when you see black men marry white women, and then they do this for status reasons, they do this for self-hatred reasons, and they think that this is also social political, because they feel like, black women talk too much, so let me go ahead and get me a white woman who's going to shut up. And then you realize white women take a lot from you. They end up basically if not all of your money, and creating a business off of your money. You think because you're getting with a white woman, that's supposed to make it better, because your self-hating ass really thinks that that's supposed to make a difference, when at the end of the day, it's your mind that creates that type of situation. You refuse to accept the reality that you want to buy into white society. You hate your race so much that you have to do that. Because it's a million excuses how people say, well, I think they did this cause, I think they did this cause, which is a bunch of BS, because we know why they did what they did. But the reality is that now you're going to accept the fact that you're going to be treated as you are, because that white woman has never respected you. They just see you as a black buck that you now treated yourself to be, and now she's taking your ass to the cleaners. It is what it is. Scottie Pippen, that's sad to see it, but I don't feel sorry for you. You on your own. Now, the Wayne situation, to me, is very interesting, because, first of all, this goes back to basically the worship of black celebrity. Black people have a problem with letting go of black celebrity. what Lil Wayne said was some real cool shit. You know, it's funny because he went from saying, but at one point he did a whole, a whole concert about Black lives, and he's saying these rhymes, and it's funny because this is all strategic. See, black celebrities know what to say and what to do to keep black people constantly moving and constantly. It's like the donkey with the carrot under his head, carrot in his face, and white and black people are the carrot. I mean, black people are the donkey, and the black celebrity and the politicians on top of it are the ones that are riding you, black people. And they know that all they have to do is do certain things, and they know that they can always get you to come back. You can be done with everything. You can be done, man. These celebrities ain't shit. These politicians ain't this. But the moment they say something that sounds remotely pro-black and for you, and then that's when you want to defend them. And it's crazy that you look at Wayne and you say to yourself, but he's never really been a person to be pro-black anyway. Now, he said things here and there because he knew he had a black fan base, and specifically a black woman fan base. Black man fan base, but black woman fan base. And it's very interesting to really just pay attention to the fact that, number one, if you really do the real connection to Wayne, with the baby situation, the sex ritual going on with him, he was turned out at 11 years old, because baby's had him since he was 11. And they've done homosexual acts together. It's the same thing as what happened with Michael Jackson with the man that was the choreographer for Thriller and Beat It. He introduced Michael Jackson to the sex ritual camp. Same thing that happened with Lil Wayne. So this is a man that's Lil Wayne I'm talking about, that's dealing with drug abuse, all these issues. So he's a really induced individual at this point. And we don't understand because we don't pay attention and study the intricacies of what happened to Lil Wayne in this industry, because the Jews got a hold of them. They get a hold of all of you. They get a hold of all these black celebrities, and they make sure that they break them in to the point where they know where the interest lies. So Wayne knows where the interest lies. Wayne is not stupid. Wayne is just playing the game of being the coon for white supremacy. But at the end of the day, he was never – that's the thing with blacks. Blacks have to – this is the point where you wake up and black liberation is supposed to come into play, where you say, wow, so everything I thought he was about, he's really not about. But you have to really go back. See, these type of acts is not like random situations that go on. Black artists, I would say, black artists first. I'm talking about black, that's in the industry, like rappers and actors and actresses and singers. Their whole job was to be distractions for black people, because this goes back to the Harlem Renaissance. The whole purpose of building the Harlem Renaissance was really to be a covert operation designed to destroy any form of black liberation. This is documented. When you go back to Langston Hughes, Du Bois, along with Alain Locke, the first black Rhodes Scholar, going back, it's funny, Rhodes Scholar, Cecil Rhodes, but anyway, Alain Locke, and then going back, Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston and all these other people, that was the Harlem Renaissance. Remember, this was the beginning of black entertainment, was the Harlem Renaissance. But this was funded by the Jews, the Rockefellers, and all the other people to be a distraction to get blacks away from Back to Africa movement, from politics to science, and cement them and staple them in the arts. That's why, if you notice, again, black people only want to do several things in society. They want to sing, they want to dance, they want to rap, they want to be athletes. And this is all forms of entertainment. That's why it's rare to ever see black intellectuals. Black intellectuals is not something that's known. It's not something that's common. It's something that's rare, and that was socially engineered. With the aid of the Boule, Sigma Pi Phi, Du Bois, and the Talented Tenth. They took the money from the Rockefeller Foundation and was able to put together the Harlem Renaissance, and that was a covert operation designed to keep blacks away from black liberation and keep us buck dancing. And that's the hell what we've been doing, has been buck dancing since the 1930s. That's why I go from 1930s to the 40s to the 50s. We make our own record companies and all we do. Because you got to realize, when you go back, again, when you look at these different clubs in the Harlem Renaissance, most of the clubs in that situation, if you look, let's say, for example, the Cotton Club in Harlem. The Cotton Club in Harlem was all white people. So when you see black people in these old pictures and they're performing for all white audiences. So you're basically just groups of black people buck dancing for white folks again. So when you have to understand again, just take it back. I talk about this a lot, but I really want to get black people to get this cemented in their brain, that you got to realize the only thing that black people are missing when they come in the industry is what? Capital. That's why they go to the Jews, they go to CBS, they go to Sony, they go to Arista, they go to these different places, because that's where the money is going to be. You understand? So the problem is that we don't realize that this is still being played out. So when you see the singers and the dancers and the rappers, that's still the Harlem Renaissance, is updated. It's to keep black people entertained and to keep you entertainers. But then you have to look at it, who's the one that buys most of the music? When you see rappers go 10 times platinum, 9 times platinum, they go in diamond, all this other stuff, whites are the one buying most of his music, not black people. Black people ain't got the money like that. White people are the one making most of. So when they are entertaining, they're still covertly entertaining white people as singers, rappers, and actors and dancers, male and female. It's the same exact thing. So when you trickle this all the way down to now with these rappers who, they cooning, they homosexuals, all this other stuff, and they, I don't, fuck Black Lives and all this Black Lives Matter, which I'm not even down with Black Lives Matter, but just the way in which he said that was like, that should have been a spell that should have broken in black people's minds about black celebrities. But the thing is, the spell that's been put on our minds to be basically dependent on black celebrity to do things for us is extremely deep. It's even with the Colin Kaepernick situation. We love Colin Kaepernick, all this other stuff, but it's like still the mulatto, a black celebrity football player mulatto that's controlling or that's in front becoming a black leader. You know what I'm saying? But then the mulattoes were the main ones that was setting us up for death, the talented tens, with Du Bois and the rest of them. But we like this. It still goes back to even with the politicians. You got to realize the politicians went from, it went from black liberation, to black politicians that basically kept us in the courts. With civil rights, it was about, we have to win through the court. We got to win in the court. But then now we're doing the same thing to this day. See, every problem has a source. Lil Wayne is really a composite. It's a small piece of how a lot of other rappers and actors and actresses and singers feel the same way. These Negroes are forced to open their mouths. They sign contracts. When I say they're forced to open their mouth, they're forced to play that game for black people. They know they got it. The thing is, it's the same thing when I talked about Idris Elba last night on my page. And he was seeing how people thought I made it up. It was a parody site, blah, blah, blah. But if you go online, you can actually find multiple pictures of him kissing Madonna in the mouth. But I made it up. Okay. But yet, if you look at Madonna, Madonna has a black man fetish. She dated multiple black men, to the name of a few, Michael Jackson and Big Daddy Kane. Big Daddy Kane had a sex tape out. Ain't that really funny? But anyway, I found it really odd, and I said, our sisters are, in fact, a lot of our sisters, and I meant this, and I say this to this day, a lot of our sisters are infatuated with Idris Elba. Yet he's the same man who said, I do not prefer black American women because most of them do not have natural hair. That right there was an insult. Black women should have took that as an insult, but because the spell of black celebrity is so deep on black women's minds that they only saw it. A lot of us, not every one of them, only they tried to look past it. But yet, what's so hypocritical is if any one of our other brothers would have said the same thing, it would have been a big problem. There would have been a lot of backlash. Brothers like Jamie Foxx, who was a known bisexual, only dates white women and is open about it, but no one has anything to say about that because you got to realize black celebrities are damn near gods to black people. That's the big thing that's another problem that stops black people from attaining and starting black liberation is black celebrity. And if we can stop waiting or hoping that black celebrities will all of a sudden come to our aid, we can actually truly move forward. The problem is we're still, again, we're under this thought process that, even going up to Obama, it's like, man, because he's damn near a black celebrity at this point, but we are under this mindset that at some point they're going to do things for us. And that's the only way that we're going to actually move forward is that we can actually let them go and see them for what they are as the clowns for white people. Because, again, they're the ones that are still entertaining white people to this day. And the whole point comes down is that these celebrities are distractions. You have to be able to decode exactly what's in front of you when you see it. See, when you see a black celebrity, you have to be able to push the black celebrity to the side and be able to get to where you're trying to get to. See it as entertainment for white people. That's all it really is. That's all it is. Because the fact that you're having to go to the Jew for your money, for your capital, to get your record deal, and they can control what you say, how you say it, how much money you make, you are still a slave for white supremacy, and all you're doing is creating entertainment so white people can be entertained by you. That's really all they are, rappers, singers, and actors. That's really all it is. And then going back to Idris Elba's baby, the child that he has is from a non-black woman, and that became a debate. It's like you're debating me on, or debate not just myself but other people, on the fact that he openly rejects black American women, but yet we still have a lot of black American women infatuated with him. We cannot keep making excuses for things like that. Male or female, doesn't make a difference. We have to be able to see these people as who they are, race traders to our people. That's the biggest problem. Again, it's coming down to this, is that as long as we are constantly being controlled by a specific group in society, that we will never get to what we're really trying to get to. And we have to make what we're trying to get to very plain so it can actually be an attainable goal. A lot of times when you talk to other organizations, and I noticed this, they tend to make everything complicated. It's either you're doing this on purpose or you don't have anything else to talk about. It's really crazy, man, really crazy. And me, I don't deal with people who play games and don't have a real agenda in mind, because then you're wasting black people's time. And you have to, again, I've said this before, you have to identify those who are about wasting time, because there's too many to name, but it's too much of us out here trying to get work done, but it's ridiculous, But that's where we're getting to, family, and we have to be able to let the black celebrity thing go, stop worrying about or stop waiting on them to all of a sudden put a Black Lives Matter shirt or hoodie on, a hat, and I was like, man, you know what? Wow. Stop looking for these athletes to say something. The whole thing, even with I'm going back to Colin Kaepernick, the whole movement is very passive aggressive, and I never had a chance to really have my own point of view on that. I pretty much let people say what they wanted to say, which some people was they down, and some people got mad because he's a mulatto and I don't fuck with that. But it's a very passive aggressive movement. the whole kneel down, and I mean, what is that actually doing? It draws attention to you, to a cause, but you think that cause is going to be addressed, and it never will. It's political gain. It's currency gain. It's capital gain. You went to eBay or whatever you went and bought a whole bunch of Colin Kaepernick jerseys and made white people more money. So what did you really accomplish? Zero. So at the end of the day, watching a man kneel in a very passive-aggressive, very punkish move does what? See, again, you have to be, in order for you to really solve problems, you have to be able to eliminate what doesn't work. That's like trying to get rid of a sickness but not knowing what the medicine is to take. You just grab everything at Walgreens and just put everything in your mouth, and it's like you end up doing more damage to yourself than good. And that's the biggest problem. Again, we keep adding other stuff to a problem that doesn't require so much other things. And that's what, again, it keeps us in this perpetual motion of back and forth banter, debates. Now going to this before I even go back off of mute. I don't support the whole debate with my little brother Ramesses and ISUPK. I think it's a terrible idea. Whoever does or doesn't know about it, this is my personal view on it. I think it's a waste of time. There's a lot of Nawapians with it, a lot of Nawapians against it. I think it's a true waste of time, and it's a confession of regression, I should say, because you're willing to get involved in this whole debate thing, but for what reason? You're not going to defeat ISUPK. You're not going to defeat them. They're not losing anything. Even if you supposedly win, they're not going to go anywhere. They're going to keep talking about my father. They're going to keep talking about everything else that the Nawapians stand for. So just accept that for what it is. Now, if you want to play that game with them, whoever you are, that's your business. Just know that you're sitting around wasting time. And just like I was, talking again to Ramos earlier about the young Pharaoh Seti versus Amon-Ra squad debate, I think is ridiculous. And again, what's being debated can be, researched online, and literally, you can research certain people. I can give people information to look up on what they're asking about. One of the Amon-Ra squad, to be honest, Asar Wajal, who used to be a Nawapian, he wrote a great book on the Medu Neter. Whether it's a cipher or not, that's not even a question, because it was. Now, the fact that that question is being asked shows the fact that this is not really about whether it was or it wasn't, because it was. It's about making money and making this entertainment. And I see now this movement is dissolving into, again, I make the joke a lot about, the WWF. It's about, we're characters now. And this should not be about characters, because black liberation is not about characterizing anything. This is a very serious situation. And we're not willing to become very serious, because if we were really serious, we would not be on social media as much as we are. We would cut that down to one site and be done with it. But that's why I actually, I'm referring a movie about Eric Snowden, made by Oliver Stone. If you all can catch this, hopefully it's still in the theaters. It's a movie called Snowden. If y'all can find it, I would look at that movie. It's a great movie on certain things dealing with the internet and dealing with espionage, but specifically the internet. I'm not going to tell you about it. Just look at the movie. It's great information in that movie. I would recommend that movie. Also, I'm going to say this now. I'm also say it after I get off of mute in a minute. Those of you who have black businesses that's on the phone, please inbox me and let me know exactly what you want me to say, because I'll also shout you out on 9 Mile Radio, because, again, this goes on YouTube, and thousands of people listen to this. And so I want to be able to advertise my people and their businesses, man. We got to create also, along with, the blacklist.org by Aurelua, who's doing his thing. Shout out to him, you know, who's been really about putting in that work. He came to the lecture Sunday. You know, really supported the brother. I support him. He supports me. That's how we do it. We got to support each other in this, man, because we, at the end of the day, us as black people, we're all we have, male and female. And I want to be able to make Non-Mind Radio something that's not just about me, you know, spitting, but it's also about advertising us. You know, again, if you have a black business, doesn't matter what it is, you know, but just make sure that it's, you know, you got some business cards and, you know, not something you scribbled on, but something that it looks nice and is very presentable, and this is your business. So I'm going to get off mute in a moment. Anyone have any questions or statements or anything?
Hey, how you doing, Hotep, brother Ali?
Hotep.
Yeah, I just want to elaborate more on what you were speaking about, wasting time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was one of the ones that, over the years, even back when I was in Brooklyn, New York, Philadelphia, and all that, and you know, and now that I'm here in Georgia, I have dealt with a lot of people that wasted my time. Mm-hmm. And I'm not blaming them. Sometimes it's the choices we make. And when I look back, I could have been a long way today. And I don't allow anybody to do that to me, and I don't think we should allow anyone to do that to us too. And you know, it's just a waste of time, and it's a distraction to me, and you know, and to you too. You know, you encounter that, and we can't get nothing done as black people if we constantly arguing, bickering, and being around a bunch of people that just don't want to do nothing with their life. They just want to waste your time. So I agree with you that I agree totally 100% what you're saying. And I can just look at a person and when they open up their mouth, I can just walk them and feel their energy, and I can know they're full of shit. You know, excuse my language. You know what I'm saying? So I don't allow that anymore, because life is too short and there's too much stuff that needs to be done to be sitting around bickering and arguing who's right, who's wrong, and we're not gonna get nothing done as black people. We're not gonna get nothing done like that.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I think a lot of people are not in the right direction. They're in a bunch of stuff that doesn't have a real agenda met. They don't have a real plan. You know, people are in an organization with no real plan. They just have like gimmicks and pyramid schemes. And when you have it in that nature, you're not going to get anything done because you're not putting anything together concrete. And I always say this a lot, and again, I said this at Sankofa with brothers around. I said, you either have like a representative of every black organization, even if it's a leader, you bring the leader out and you say, what exactly is your agenda for black liberation? Because a lot of people, I say black liberation a lot because everything else really is like, I'm going back to Marcus Garvey on this. Now, other people will go, let's say, Noble Ali, they go nationality and calling yourself a Moor and this and that. Now, we have to, even with that, I said this before, bring this to the table and ask, you know, exactly how this is going to solve our problems in terms of genocide. You mean you're saying change our name to Moor, that's going to stop everything? So if that's not the case, then what are you actually trying to say or wanting us to do if that's not what's going to happen? See, and that's the stuff you have to be able to challenge people and challenge their thought, because people don't like to be challenged. And when I say, it's like me saying, okay, bring this to the table, let's talk about it. If I ask you pertinent questions, like there will be no room for discussion or debate. Well, we can discuss, but no debating, because some people will play semantics game with you all day when there's time to get to business. And I say, okay, bring your plan. If your plan is not about this, we're trying to separate, create our own, and you're not talking about that, then I'm not saying for you to stop. I'm saying it's not going to work here. you might be able to go somewhere else and do what you're doing. It's like Hebrew Israelites. You might be able to go and bring whatever hell it is that you're doing here. I mean, you can bring it here and bring whatever plan you have, but if it's not coinciding with what we're talking about in terms of repatriation, dual citizenship, land, and our own government on that level, then you're wasting our time.
That's right.
You know, like we just keep saying, like you're just bringing something to the table just to say you're bringing something to the table. And a lot of people come with just egos and just don't have nothing to say anymore. It's like, okay, just bring it, and if it doesn't equal to what we're trying to do or at least add to what we're trying to do, then we have to move on from you. And you're still in your organization. You can still do what you do. It's just that it shows that people are not serious. You know, and that's what it is that, you know, people, again, the most valuable thing you have in your life is time. If you waste that time, then that falls on you. Don't waste time with anything or anybody. You know, even, you know, regardless of who it is.
Yeah, and especially if you have children. You know, you waste your time. You want to leave a legacy for your kids. How you going to leave a legacy and you waste your whole life arguing and debating, wasting your time with leeches? You got a lot of leeches around in the society. People just want to suck your energy and leech off you. And they ain't coming with nothing on the table. A lot of them come just to be nosy. A lot of them got envy and jealous. You know, a lot of blacks like crabs. They don't want to see you successful. So I agree with you saying. And we just it will cut the time in half where you end up becoming more successful. And you have to set boundaries. So I like what you said when you said you got to like just recognize and challenge and find out where their mind is at. If you're wasting my time, you're not going to be successful that way.
Right.
You know, and like I said, I wasted a lot of time with users and leeches, and you know, I don't deal with that no more. A lot of people think I'm cold or I'm mean or nothing like that. No, it has nothing to do with that. I really have no time.
Yeah,
I really don't.
I agree with that. No, that's real.
Yeah, we don't have leaders in our community anymore. We have hustlers.
Yeah.
We plain and simply have hustlers. And we need to call, and we as a people need to call them to the carpet. Like I've heard somebody, you know, paid money to get their solvency and stuff, and the people don't get what they pay for. I listened to that this morning, and people are not getting what they paid for. And this man charged people $400 and $500 to get solvency, you know, to claim their status and their solvency. And he did this to 2,000 people. And I had the math, that's $800,000 he took from 2,000 people.
Right.
And it's just a scam. We don't have leaders in our community. We have hustlers. People that try to hustle the conscious community. We have hustlers. And they need to be called out and be held accountable.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, matter of fact, just to touch on that just for a second, I knew a brother that put in over $1,000 into that. And, you know, at least with some movements back in the day, you would at least get a new, you know, ID, you would get a new license plate, and he didn't get anything. And so I was looking at him like, you either going to need to do two things. You need to demand something from them, or you just leave this alone and count your losses. And he stayed in it. He's still trying to get at it. He's still trying to get something from it because he doesn't want to admit defeat, that he lost. And again, that's what I was talking about ego earlier. I said that's what within just men right now is what's keeping us from really being what we need to be. Is we're not able to admit when we make mistakes and willing to build from that. To say, man, you know what? I joined this. I made a mistake, and I'm willing to move forward because some brothers got families, and they take their families, they drag them through this crap, and they don't want to just admit, you know, because to me, the mark of a man is when is the important thing, you make that mistake, you learn from it, and you don't do it no more. But for some reason, a brother will know he's making a mistake, but won't pull out and will just keep making the same mistake or just continue in the same problem that's not productive. And this Morris thing at this point it's shown to be very non-productive. And people don't want that to be known. They want to keep playing games. And we have to get to a point where if this is what you're about, again, like I said, bring this to the table and ask, and the question needs to be asked is, how is this going to solve black genocide as a whole? You're saying even with the sisters, let's say, for example, the sisters that's in prison right now that's being sterilized. You're saying if they all call themselves Moors, it's going to stop? I mean, is that what you're saying? Are you saying that all these things that happen to us is happening right now, the prison industrial complex, if they all call themselves Moors, that's going to shut down? All these people are getting shot in the street in terms of public hanging to this day. Are you saying that's going to stop if they call themselves, well, they should have called themselves Moors? You go call it, if you keep running off with that rhetoric, that's disingenuous. Because if you say no, let's just say a brother says no to that or a sister says no to that, then what is your real agenda about? What is that? How is that going to help us now? Not me give you money and I wait until you give me something else. That's like me buying a TV and I don't get no TV. I just give them money and walk out to the store. That's ridiculous. And I'm trying to understand why we keep falling for the same gimmick. That to me at this point is a gimmick. Because I'm like, historical Moors ain't signed no papers. They ran with swords in their hands. So I'm trying to understand how you're supposed to still be a historical Moor when you're still asking for money and signing papers and talking about trees with crackers. That don't make no sense. Mm-hmm. When not one cracker in history has ever adhered to the treaty that they created. So how is that going to work? Even with the Sundry Free Moors Act of 1790, they didn't adhere to that. You were still being subjugated. You were still being exterminated. And you're still working for whites to still colonize Africa. So you were still a slave in a way. You were still you were still a slave. Even to King Leopold, they were still slaves to King Leopold, going in Africa, colonizing, castrating, cutting off limbs, and this is historical records. So this is reality. So again, back to the point: how is what you're coming with now, which is signing or getting white legal status, going to change the whole perception or the whole globalization of African people across the world? If you cannot present real, solid, tangible, solutions to our problems, then you are a waste of time. That's it.
That's it.
You can still do what you do where you are. Still do what you do where you are. Not mad at you. I'm just saying we have to start treating people like adults because we play with each other in kid gloves.
That's right.
We still, we can hang out with each other and this that to me is very destructive because we don't have constructive conversation. If I say, what is constructive about this conversation and what am I going to get from this? People get offended. I'm like,
They do. And you're right, Brother Ali. Can I inject that? Because I noticed when you on Facebook, I noticed certain people get sensitive. And that really upset me. You're trying to bring the light to them, and they so delusional in what you're saying, they can't see it. They get mad with you.
Yeah. And
that really upsets me. I'm like, I people that just want to be blind, and you're giving them facts.
Right. I'm like, look, when I was talking about the Idris Elba situation, I said, I don't know the man from a hole in the wall. But the reality is it's like me saying the same thing. Like, how would you see me as a black man if I said I don't prefer black American women? Mm-hmm. That's insulting. But he says it, and you're acting like he didn't say it when we all know he said it 3 years ago. But again, that's why I was talking about the whole celebrity thing. That's a layer of the spell because you are emotionally invested into a man you've never met. It says he in reality is a black prop because they know how much our women are into certain types of things. So they put certain people out there, and this is all social engineering. So the first thing they do when this is the thing, and I've come to just accept it. Our people will get mad at the messenger before they research the message.
Right.
If I say when I talked about Dr. King with the Rockefellers and everything, and people were like, well, what if? It's like, dude, you're saying what if. I can give you multiple sites in the book that breaks down all of his covert operations with the Zionists if you like. Maybe you don't want to get your feelings hurt, and maybe you want to still be emotionally attached to this man. However you want to do it, it's up to you. But the reality is he did not have black people's best interests in mind. He was a Boule Sigma Pi Phi member who was connected to white people. Matter of fact, white people paid for his education. He was a prop. Now, if you don't like that, it doesn't change the facts. Just, what you need to do is you need to do two things. You can continue to ignore the fact, or you can decide to unfreeze from the spell and actually look up the information for yourself and learn the information and realize you've been lied to. I mean, it's the next lecture I'll be doing about. It's probably going to come before the end of the year, probably within the next 2 months in South Carolina. Will be about Boule and the four main people. I'm going to be going in on a lot of these house Negroes, but the four main people I'll be going into is Du Bois, Baynard Rustin, NLK, and John Lewis. All four are Boule, and especially Baynard. The thing is, he's one of the main ones that I'm going into is Baynard Rustin, and there's a lot of information. First of all, he was. I'm not sure if you heard of him, but he was a homosexual.
Did you say David Ruffin?
No, Baynard Rustin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Baynard Rustin. He was one of the first black men that was for gay rights, and he was a civil rights activist. It was funny because he was sleeping with one of the Zionist members. He was sleeping with one of the Zionist members. His boyfriend was a Zionist, and he got a lot of funding from the same man that funded a lot of the Christian movements in a lot of colleges. And it's like the Young Christian Association and all these other civil rights movements. They were funded off of the things that he was doing with another man. And he was also responsible for bringing in Stokely Carmichael, who Carmichael was also under the Jews prior to bringing in, he coined the term Black Power. And a lot of our people, that's going to hurt a lot of our people's feelings that they were, this whole civil rights movement was designed and operated and funded really by two different elite groups, the black elite and the white elite. And once that really starts being put into place, you're going to have to make a choice. Either you're going to keep believing that this is true, or you're going to wake up and start realizing, like, man, we've been hacked. I talked to a sister, this evening on Facebook, and we was exchanging information about it, and I was giving her stuff because she was reading Marcus Garvey's letters, and I was just telling her about, Malcolm X indicated the Big Six. And the Big Six, this is right before he died. He said this is the Big Six. The Big Six was controlled by the Rockefellers. The Big Six was, Dr. King, Baynard Rustin. You had Ralph Abernathy, Andrew Young, and John Lewis. I think there was one more, but these are the ones he was talking about that were the enemies to black people. But these are the black elites that he figured out after a while who was the ones that was like the black guard in terms of getting into black liberation to keep us instead of going into liberation of black people, to keep us in the courts, to not say words like black, but keep saying words like civil. Because remember, we haven't never even really used the word. Remember, the main point of the Du Bois connection with Rockefeller was they made a swear to not make anything about race. That's why when you go into the civil rights movement, you notice they never use the word black. They might say the word Negro here and there, but it was all about we want our civil rights. We want our civil rights. But that's the point. They did not. They had already made a deal with the Rockefellers and the rest of the Jews to not mention race, because quiet as kept. The whole point of the main point that Du Bois wanted to do is, I'm going to end it with this, was that the first point that Du Bois wanted to do was he wanted to basically breed out melanin. He wanted to breed out the melanin of black people. It was a plan that he wanted to do, and it never got in place. But this is just the mindset of a Du Bois. Du Bois wanted to get a good population of black people and Jews, breed them together to breed out black people, so that you wouldn't have a black race no more. You would just have a mixture. It would just be a new race of people that they could create. This is documented. This is something that he wanted to socially engineer. This is W.E.B. Du Bois. And this is something that he wanted, and the Jews had, they were cool with that. They were like, you know what, you're right, because they felt like blacks and Jews had this solidarity because of what they went through with each other, but they little do they know that they were being insulted behind their backs. But it's funny how they wanted to make this big pact with Jews, but the Jews were the ones who started the slave trade. So you actually were making a pact with your slave master at the same time. And no one ever looked at it from that angle. It's like, wow, he actually was making a pact, especially with Rockefeller, because the Rockefeller family were one of the biggest colonizers of any white family you ever think of. Because there's still, again, we deal with David Rockefeller now. He's of course the son of John D. Rockefeller Jr. David was able to create a pipeline from South Africa into America with the help of Nelson Mandela. All this information is needed to know, because then it breaks that spell of dependency on the black elite, on so-called black leadership. See, people think black leadership is just, Dr. King, Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, Dr. York, when you have to realize black politicians are also black leaders. They're just, they may not have big names, but they're still leaders because they've become the figureheads and the mouthpieces for the black race unknowingly. And this has been going on since the 1920s, since they took down the UNIA and took down Marcus Garvey. They've been the main people controlling things behind the scenes, and they've been the ones responsible for a lot of the assassinations of our leaders and taking down. It's just been black elites and white elite working together. It's the house Negro and the slave master working together, and that's what's been going on for a very long time. So that's my main point that I've been putting together. It's going to be a good lecture. It's going to be a long one, but it's going to be packed with a lot of information. That's my point, is to break that spell, that layer of the spell that has us so dependent on them. Yeah. And that's the big thing. So that's my idea. That's my point. What I'm doing, putting together.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like Brother Ali. I really love what you're doing, because our people, like you said, we got to break that spell. A lot of people just don't really know what's going on, and you're pulling a lot of stuff out. Yeah. I mean, you really are, and I appreciate that. I'm learning a lot from you, so I thank you so much.
No, that's no problem. No problem.
And then one thing is this: have that strongman stuff has ever been proven? I know the Moors use it a lot, but has it ever been proven?
No, it hasn't. I mean, from what I've seen, I've never seen, even let's say, for example, you take the strawman stuff and you bring it into the courts. Like to this day, there's several lawyers, black and white, that will tell you that every time they've seen a brother come in there, whether he has affairs or not, even with the brother, I keep forgetting his name, Kevin Gates, he was claiming Moorish status and he got put in prison. So it doesn't work. And the thing is, when you tell them that, the Moors specifically, they get an attitude and they try to, insult you. And I'm saying, you haven't shown me any proof that it does work. I'm asking for proof. I'm not asking for you to be defensive. I'm not asking for you to get an attitude. I would like to know with proof, has it worked? Then I'll listen to you. But if you can't give me proof, then you give me a reason not to listen to you. And that's my point. So, yeah, I hear you. The whole straw man, and you change your status, and you're a corporation. It's like, I get what you're saying, but I need you to show me proof that it works. That's all. Don't waste time. Don't waste my time.
That's all.
Yeah, and more got mad at me because I asked that. Is there any evidence, any documented proof that this works? He couldn't even prove anything to me.
No.
She gave me no documentation, no evidence that having that making up your license plate works or getting your sovereignty works. None of that. I got no evidence of that. And then he gets mad at me when I ask for facts.
Right.
Yeah.
And then why should I waste my time and my money giving you money on something that I know is proven not to work?
Mhm. Yeah. They know it don't work, and it's for me personally, it's an insult because I ask people, again, like I always keep saying, just present whatever you have, and if this is what it is, and if you have proof that this stuff works, and you can show, then the people will listen to you. But y'all haven't shown it. You haven't shown how it works. That's all. You haven't shown anything, and whether it works or not, I don't know. But based on proof, it doesn't, because I keep seeing specifically our men keep being thrown in prison. I knew a brother, like I said before, I knew a brother who I've known since 2009, thrown in prison. He was, he did the whole thing, gave up his Texas State ID, and they were after him because of that. I'm like, the whole point of it, you have to keep both. The point of it is to not, if you're going to get your Morris ID, keep both so that it avoids the whole problem until you can truly get to your land and can flex what you have. But you're trying to flex it in their face, and you can't flex it in the face of the enemy who's trying to exterminate you. They're going to play, okay, you're going to play that game, watch what's going to happen to you. And that's all I see. That's all I see. I'm sorry. But again, I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down now, and I got to get back to doing some things on some research. And just want to say, towel hat for everybody I was able to get on. Thank you, and Wadu and Hotel Wild Show. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Hotel, bro.